Welcome to your friendly neighborhood historian, where we discuss just enough history to inform, intrigue, and entertain. I'm Bill Petro. The history of Palm Sunday. Holy Week, or Passion Week, starts this weekend with Palm Sunday. Why was this week so important that three of the Gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, devote a full third of their contents to reporting this week, and the fourth Gospel, John, dedicates its entire last half. Jerusalem, which had a normal population of 50,000 at this time, tripled in size because of the influx of pilgrims celebrating the Jewish holiday Passover. Early Sunday morning, Jesus made his dramatic public entry into the city. This was the end of any privacy and safety his ministry had afforded him previously. It began an inevitable collision course with the religious and political authorities, Jewish and Roman. To get a sense of the geography of Palm Sunday, the procession started at the Mount of Olives, across the land bridge of the Kidron Valley that ran along Jerusalem's eastern side and through the eastern gate into the city. There is some debate among scholars about which of the two gates on the eastern wall of the city Jesus would have entered. The Sheep Gate is located at the northeast corner of the old city of Jerusalem. I've walked through it myself. The Sheep Gate is a natural choice from that land bridge and a common gate that Jesus used to enter the city. It was so named because lambs that were destined for temple sacrifice entered here. They did not leave alive. For centuries, Christian pilgrims began their procession inside this gate during Easter week. The route is called the Via Dolorosa, which means the way of suffering or the way of sorrow, and marks the stations of the cross that Jesus followed on his way from his condemnation by Pontius Pilate to his crucifixion on Mount Calvary. Others contend that the Golden Gate in the center-eastern part of the city was Jesus' entry point. However, it's currently sealed up and has been for 5 centuries, since the mid-16th century by Suleiman the Magnificent, a sultan of the Ottoman Empire. Jewish tradition states that Messiah will enter through the gate when he comes in the new age to rule. Whichever gate Jesus entered near the temple, crowds gathered to see the rabbi from Galilee. The procession began, accompanied by shouting and singing from the crowd as they threw down their garments on the pathway to cushion his ride, an Oriental custom still observed on some occasions. And they laid down palm fronds, the symbol of triumph. The Old Testament prophet Zechariah had foretold the arrival of the Messianic king in Jerusalem via the humble conveyance of a colt. Here, the crowd hailed Jesus as the Son of David, a loaded name used at a loaded time. The Bible had predicted that Messiah would be the son of David. The priestly establishment was understandably disturbed, as the palm was the national emblem of an independent Palestine. These were essentially Jewish flags. What if Jesus should claim to be the heir of King David? Archaeological excavations have turned up Roman coins with the head of the Roman Emperor Tiberius, who was the emperor in Rome at the time of Palm Sunday. But on the other side of the coin, there is a seated woman holding a palm. The inscription reads, Caesar Augustus Tiberius, son of the divine Augustus. The coin, referring to Tiberius as a god, would be considered idolatrous to the Jewish subjects. Hence, the presence of money changers at the temple to convert this Roman denarius, or Tiberius penny, into temple money. The conspiracy against Jesus by the religious leaders had been building for at least 3 years, since the beginning of his ministry. The sources record 7 instances of official plotting against him, 2 efforts at arrest, and 3 assassination attempts before this time. Indeed, this intrigue was no spur-of-the-moment idea. A formal decision to arrest Jesus had been made several months earlier. The Jewish religious officials of the Sanhedrin were afraid that if Jesus were to continue performing his signs and miracles, he might win over the people, and the Romans would come in and destroy the temple and the nation. According to legal custom at that time, a court crier had to announce publicly or post an official wanted handbill in the larger towns of Judea about 40 days before a trial. Small wonder that there was debate over whether Jesus would dare appear in Jerusalem for the Passover event. This discussion ended abruptly on Palm Sunday when he did make his public appearance. There were also political reasons for dealing with Jesus. There had been a dozen uprisings in Israel in the previous 100 years, tracing back to the Roman occupation by Pompey in 63 BC. Most of them subdued by Roman force. Another messianic rebellion under Jesus would only shatter the precarious balance of authority, break Rome's patience, and might lead to direct and full occupation by Roman legions. Religiously, Jesus was a dangerous item to the current Jewish establishment. The people in the streets were hailing the teacher from Galilee as something more than a man. And Jesus was not denying or blunting this, quote, blasphemous adulation. The Pharisees, who were part of the Sanhedrin, had already been bested by Jesus in public debate, being called vipers, whitewashed tombs, and devourers of widows' houses. Humiliated, they would only be too happy to conspire with the scribes, elders, and chief priests of the Sanhedrin. Finally, there were economic motives for opposing Jesus. Seeing the commercialization of the temple, Jesus drove out the dealers and the animals and turned over the money changers' tables, causing significant business disruption. There were many reasons for dealing with Jesus of Nazareth. Thank you for listening. I'm Bill Petro, your friendly neighborhood historian. You can find more details on this topic and others on my website at billpetro.com.